Welcome into a high school football / college football Wednesday here on the Desmond Johnson Show here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, tobaccoroadsportsradio.com. Loaded show for you today on your lunch break. Winston Salem Journal prep writer Marc Pruitt in the house, as he is every Wednesday during high school football season, to preview his big three. I'm not sure if we've got three this week with Forsyth County basically on a bye. Like everybody's on a bye in Forsyth County, but we got some games. Well, there's a couple that aren't, so we've got a couple games that we'll review there. Ryan Stone will be in the house right after that with Best Bets. It's a huge college football weekend, loads of top matchups. He'll be able to get through some of those. I'm sure we'll have Georgia, Alabama, and a couple others as well. Let's go ahead and get into it. Get you guys in and out of your lunch break. It's the Desmond Johnson Show.
Live with Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
Yeah, welcome to the Carolinas. Everywhere you go, the sky is Carolina blue, the finest. Live action, feedback, the city need that. I've been number one, no cap. Here's the recap. Adrenaline is my addiction. I'm about to relapse. Step on the turf if you won't and get your weed whack. I'm going harder than a martyr on the starter end. It's the heart of man, that's a rap like a cardigan. I'm breaking records, it's 4th and inches. I count the seconds. The over-under's my roar of thunder, my secret weapon. Yeah, the game is to be told. I don't break, I break modes. Follow me on Tobacco Road.
Live with Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
And welcome back into the Desmond Johnson Show here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, tobaccoroadsportsradio.com. Keep in mind, you can catch the best of the week from the Desmond Johnson Show every Friday afternoon on terrestrial radio in the Triad, 5 o'clock p.m. on WWBG, 1470 a.m. in Greensboro, 6 o'clock p.m. on WTOB, 980 a.m., 96.7 FM in Winston-Salem. And, of course, we're your home for Triad Sports. Marc Pruitt in the house from Winston-Salem Journal joining us here to preview his big three. Before we get into those previews, though, I want to go back to last week. You were with us out in K Vegas as it was a clash of top 20 teams. East Forsyth taking on Mooresville. East Forsyth falling hard to Mooresville. It was 44-19 or something like that. I can't 44 to 14, I believe it was.
42 to 14.
42-14. It was bad. Give me your thoughts on that game, because it kind of came out of nowhere. And I was talking to Rod Funderburk, my color commentator and my buddy that does East Forsyth football with me. And I told him, we've been calling East Forsyth football since 2018. We've never called a game like that. And we had to go back and think how long ago it had been since they'd had a game like that, where it just snowballed. It was actually worse than the Grimsley loss that they had, because even in the Grimsley loss, they still were kind of competing until the final buzzer. But this one kind of got away from them in the third and just snowballed downhill. Give me your thoughts on what you saw between East Forsyth and Mooresville. How concerned are you about East?
I think what stood out to me was East took the 14-3 lead, and I was like, okay, maybe this is going to be better than I imagined it might be. For East, knowing Mooresville was a really good team coming into it. Their only losses for the season came against Huff and Weddington, two powers in 8A and 7A. And when they got the 14-3 lead, I was like, all right, he's showing me something. And then from there, it was pretty much all Mooresville, 39 straight points. And some blunders. They converted a lot of 3rd and longs to keep drives going that they ended up scoring on. Blocked the punt, blocked the field goal attempt. Mooresville seemed to be doing everything right. And like you said, it just kind of snowballed. The momentum just was with them from about midway through the second quarter on. And it sort of reminded me of when East played Independence in the playoffs a couple of years ago. And when Independence got that lead, and just the running back, I think it was a sophomore at the time, was just rolling over people.
I remember exactly. I called that game, yeah.
And it reminded me of that with the momentum shift. And East just could never get their bearings back, it seemed. And I think the stunning part for me was obviously the margin of defeat. I don't remember an East Forsyth team getting beat like that by that many points before, at least in the last 20 years. Not saying it didn't happen, but a team that we all think and expect the high standards of East Forsyth. It's going to come out there and be competitive every week and win a lot of games by that score against their opponents. Kind of were the victim of their success, I think, last week. And the role was reversed on them. So I guess the loss came at a good time since they've got an off week to prepare for the CPC opener next Friday in Clemens at West Forsyth. I'm sure they're practicing hard this week and looking at all the film to figure out what they need to do from here. But that's going to be a fun one next Friday, because that's going to be a game that goes a long way in determining who the CPC champion is going to be. Normally that's the game that's played at the last week of the regular season, but they switched it up this year, which will be fun. And I still think East Forsyth has a shot at the Central Piedmont title. I don't think their season is over by any stretch of the imagination. But it's going to be fun to see them and West next week. And Reagan still has a lot to say about this title as well. And maybe even Reynolds and maybe even Northwest Guilford. We'll see. Reynolds is undefeated still. They got the bye this week. But I still think it's going to be a fun race in the CPC, and a lot will be determined about that next Friday night.
Hold on. Okay. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Something just happened with our internet on the street. It's like bleeped out and bleeped back in, but I could hear you the entire time. Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. Again, that was the first time I'd really seen East in that position, probably in about 2 decades, like you said. It felt like it got to a point where the East team just couldn't figure out how to stop some of the stuff Mooresville was doing. And shout out to Mooresville, because what they were doing, the defense was keyed in on their running back, McCombs, number 2, who's great, one of the best running backs in the state, actually. And he wasn't getting anything in the first quarter. Like, they were stopping him at the line. He couldn't get anything. And they were putting some licks on him. And shout out to Mooresville, because they kind of figured it out early, and they started doing stuff where they would motion him out wide left, like pre-snap. And then the quarterback would actually take the shotgun snap, look to him to the left. The whole defense goes that way, and he turned real quick to the right, throw it over here to the screen pass, and there's nothing in front of him for 40 yards. And they did that 4 or 5 times throughout the game that night, and East never really got a chance to adjust to it. And then just basic stuff, missing tackles, things of that nature. But it is East Forsyth. I don't expect them to, continue like this as they get into conference play. Typically in conference play is when they actually start to strengthen some of the stuff that they normally do. Yeah. However, I will say the CPC is looking stronger than I expected. Reynolds is undefeated, like you mentioned, and that's a young team with a young coach. Shout out to Coach Davidiak over there. And they're in a new stadium. Finally, they get to play. People take that for granted, being able to play at home, your actual home games, where for, 50, 60 years, Reynolds was having to go across the city to go play their home games at Deaton Thompson Stadium. Out past Parkland, which they shared with Parkland. Now they have their own, the Crater. It'll be our first time there when we do that game, East Forsyth RJ Reynolds in a couple of weeks. But East is on a bye this week, as well as some other schools in Forsyth County. Grimsley, our other game of the week on WCOG, blew out Southwest Guilford 65-0. They have scored 146 points and allowed 0 to Southwest Guilford in the past 2 times they've seen them. Grimsley's still rolling, number 1 team in the state, nationally ranked, top 25 in the country. No word on Faison Brandon, senior quarterback, ranked top 3 in the country in terms of quarterbacks heading to Tennessee. Hand injury. Talked to Coach Brown about it last week. He said he's still week to week, and once they know something, they said they would let me know so I could actually put it out there, since we're the home of the Grimsley Sports Network. So if I find out anything about Faison, we'll go. But Grimsley fans, I wouldn't worry. The freshman you have there, Brody Lowe, he seems pretty good. He's already got off of Florida State. So I
told Coach Willard Friday night after the game, I think the first thing I said to him, I was trying to lighten the mood because you could kind of tell he was not happy.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
I said, well, maybe the best part of this is you won't have to play any more teams with someone named Brody at quarterback this season, because he's 0-2 against Brody's at quarterback. So
did he laugh at all, or did he?
He did laugh, so I took that as a win. So
okay, that's good. That's good. So all right, let's get into it. It's the part of the program where Marc gives us his big 3. Again, I don't know if he has 3 games with half the county on a bye, but Give us your first big game for this upcoming Friday.
What really intrigues me Friday night is Reidsville 3-2 coming to Carver at 5-0. Carver is 5-0 for the first time in I don't know how long. I look back as far as Max Preps would allow me to look back, and a lot of times.
You said Reidsville Carver?
Reidsville coming to
Carver.
Okay.
I thought you said it was Walkertown Carver playing each other.
No, that was last. Walkertown and Carver played last week. No,
okay. I got you.
Walkertown and Reidsville played last week. So it's Carver this week. I look back as far as Max Preps would allow me to look to find out when the last time Carver started 5-0, and I couldn't find anything because a lot of Carver's first games over the last 15, 20 years have been against Greensboro Dudley, and they would always lose the first game of the season against Dudley, but then come around and finish 10-1 or 9-2 or whatever it is. So there's a lot of buzz around the Yellow Jackets. Yes, I said that intentionally, I think. The Hive is going to be hopping Friday night. I know they are really getting behind this team. Cornelius Holmes is his first full season as the head coach. He took over about halfway through last year as the interim and retained the job. Got a couple of key guys he's been leaning on. Derek Reed Jr. is a standout defensive back and wide receiver. Jaden Gauss-Hughes, linebacker, running back. Quentin Stone is a quarterback, very undersized, but getting the job done for those guys. Carver has, out of their 5 wins, 4 have been shutouts. The last 4 games have been shutouts. So the defense has allowed 6 points all season. And that was in the season opening win against Parkland. So the defense is getting it done. It's 5-0. This is probably going to be the best team they face this season with Reidsville coming in. Obviously, big 4A title contender. Kendra Harrison coming in, Deontay Neal coming in. We can say as much as we want to about how special those 2 guys are and what they've done for that program in football and basketball. So it's going to be a fun night, I think, in Winston-Salem Friday night at David Lash Stadium to see this game and see how Carver fares against one of the top programs in the state every year.
It's good too for East Winston. I know they've been hungry. Carver hasn't really been statewide relevant since the early 2000s when they were winning back-to-back state championships in 3A, and had loads of talent. A lot of talent was over at Carver at that point in time. Now with different schools that have been built, some of it's kind of filter out. So some kids that would have normally went to Carver are now at Walkertown, or some kids that would have went there at Atkins or at East Forsyth, and it's kind of spread them out a little bit. Shout out to Coach Honeycutt over at Walkertown, and shout out to Coach Teague over at Reidsville. That conference, the Mid-State, is going to be pretty interesting as we get deeper.
I think it's top heavy. Walkertown, Reidsville, I think are the favorites. Reidsville has the leg up now since they won last week against Walkertown. Carver, I think this one tonight, basically, I think we'll know kind of the fate of the conference after tonight or Friday night. But I think those 3 are putting on a pretty good show for all the fans in that league. So it'll be fun to kind of follow that along.
What do you got for another game for this upcoming Friday here?
Greensboro. Let's go to Greensboro. Page and Dudley squaring off.
Ooh, okay.
That should be a fun one. Dudley 2-3, Page 3-1. Kind of I don't know how to a transition year maybe for Dudley, who lost their offensive coordinator, who's now at Northeast Guilford. A lot of players follow him out the door up there. Yeah,
including the starting quarterback who was really good at Dudley last year. He went to Northeast with him, yeah. Dudley
has kind of been finding his way, I think, to the 2 wins they have so far, and played a really tough schedule too. So, and Page seems to be a little bit rejuvenated this season at 3-1. So I think there'll be a lot of people in Greensboro that have some interest in that game Friday night.
Shout out to, got some old school champ names kind of emerging in the Triad. Page having a good start of their season. Page was prominently known in the Triad for state titles and contending year after year after year, and they kind of had a little down spot. I was over there this past summer talking with their AD and kind of touring the facilities and stuff. Page has a nice football stadium. It's artificial turf, big huge board. Yeah, it's nice. So that's a good one too. And then of course, like you said with Dudley, I think they started off 0-3. They lost to Durham Hillside. They lost to a couple teams right there in the beginning in non-conference, and now they're getting into their conference play. I'm curious to see how it goes in the Metro, because really, other than Grimsley, there I am. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi today. It
Rose
keeps
on,
switching
yeah.
back and forth. So
Yeah.
sorry about that. Before it cuts me off completely, give me your third game for for Friday.
I guess the other two that I'm kind of keeping an eye on, Grimsley and Western Guilford on paper. Grimsley 5-0, Western Guilford 4-1. I'm not sure how much that'll hold. I think Grimsley probably wins this one easily too, based on the results that I think both you and I have seen the last few weeks. And also, I will be in Walkertown Friday night. Walkertown versus Rockingham County. I think Doug Robertson, the coach at Rockingham, got those guys going in the right direction. I know Coach Honeycutt, this was one of the games that he told me before this season that he was not looking forward to because of coaching against Doug Robertson, who took an Eastern Guilford team to a state championship game, coached in Thomasville, had a lot of success in Thomasville, was at Page for a few years, and now he's back in Rockingham County. And, of course, he was a long-time assistant coach at Reedsville under Jimmy T, who won a lot of those 22 state football championships that Reedsville had. So Doug's been up through everything and knows what he's doing and building a pretty solid program up there. So Walkertown's 4-1, doing some great things on offense and defense for Trip Honeycutt in his second year. Only loss so far this season is to Reedsville, a game they were in most of last week. And they've got Walkertown's had a lot of weapons on offense, quarterback, wide receiver, running back, and maybe the best defensive player, probably the best defensive player in that conference, Camryn Cartledge, a linebacker. He was the Mid-State 2A Player of the Year last season in the conference with Reedsville. So I think he is leading the state in tackles right now with somewhere in the 77, I think is what I saw. So that should be a fun one tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to being out there for that one.
So you got, you said Walkertown versus Rockingham County. You got Dudley Page, and then what was the first one again? I'm sorry.
Carver and Reedsville.
Carver and Reedsville. That's actually a pretty good slate there for that. And then, of course, I think we're running it across both. I don't know what is going on with my Wi-Fi today. I'm so sorry, everybody. If you could still hear me or not on here. We have Verena at Grimsley. Verena is from Virginia and one of the top teams in the state of Virginia, matter of fact. They're traveling down here. Grimsley could not find a final game to complete their schedule, and at the last minute, literally like the end of July, they got the game with Verena. So they punch out a lot of D1 kids too. So it should be a good mid-season test for Grimsley. Of course, ranked number one in the state. Verena ranked high in Virginia. That game will be Friday, the WCOG game of the week. I believe we're going to cross it on WTOB as well, and then we'll be back on our regular stuff next week. I'm going to get Marc out of here before my stuff completely conks out on me. Appreciate you coming through and previewing those games, and I will see you next week.
All right. See you then. Thanks.
So there he goes. That's Marc Pruitt. We're going to bring in Ryan Stone, and Ryan, we're going to do it sort of quick hits because something's going on with my Wi-Fi today where it's just like in and out. I don't know what's happening.
I've seen. Yeah, I'll keep it as quick as I can. So I'm actually for college football. I've got 2 picks for the NFL. I've got 3 picks. Again, this is kind of early in the week, so there'll be more on my Twitter as we get closer to the weekend. But the first one for Friday night in the ACC. Florida State at UVA. I like over 57.5 in that game. I think both teams will be able to score plenty of points in that game. Florida State's second in the country rushing the ball. They're averaging like 373 rushing yards a game or something ridiculous like that. And UVA's pretty decent stopping the run on the year. They're 31st in the country, but the one quality opponent they've played, NC State, rushed for 260 on them. So I think Florida State's going to be able to move the ball. I think UVA will be able to move the ball through the air. So I think we'll see plenty of points in that game. Another one, Alabama and Georgia on Saturday night. I like the over in that one too, 52.5. This seems like they're kind of thinking old school SEC a little bit with this total. We just saw a couple weeks ago Georgia and Tennessee a 44-41 shootout. So the way Bama's
Big 12
offense
action.
the way Bama's offense has been looking the last few weeks, I think they are going to score points on this Georgia team, and I think Georgia's going to score them right back. So I like the overs in both of those games. In the NFL, I took early in the week. I took Green Bay -5 against the Cowboys. That line has moved a little bit now. I'd still probably take it up to a touchdown, but I think the fact that the Packers lost on Sunday to the Browns the way that they did was the worst thing that could have happened to the Cowboys going into this game. So I expect the Packers to be pretty motivated. And then I have two teasers for the weekend. I've got the Cardinals teased up to +7.5 and the Chargers -1 in a teaser. Arizona hosting Seattle on Thursday night. The Chargers playing at the Giants on Sunday. And then also the Houston Texans are too good to keep losing. They're going to win at some point. So I'm going to take the Texans.
So? I don't know.
Talent-wise, I think they're good enough. And I think they can at least beat the Titans. So I'm going to take the -1 on a teaser and the Broncos -1 on a teaser parlayed together as well.
So quick questions. Going back to college football, Alabama, Georgia. Do you expect that to be a good game, or do you feel like Georgia is just considerably better than Alabama, or do you think Alabama's righted the ship?
I do. I think Alabama has righted the ship to an extent. I think they will score points against this Georgia team. I'm not saying they're going to win. If I had to bet on a side in that, I would probably lean to Alabama +3.5. I think they keep it close. Again, if I had to, I'm not saying I'm making that bet, but I do expect that to be a really good game and what is a absolutely loaded slate on Saturday.
Yeah, a lot of good games on Saturday, and hell, depending on what happens by the end of the weekend, the ACC might have the #1 team in the country in Miami. They're sitting at #2 on a bye week, and Ohio State's got to play Washington this week, and that's not a gimme. So.
Yeah, you could actually see a top 5. Florida State takes care of business on Friday night. You could actually see a top 5 matchup next week with Florida State and Miami for the ACC.
Which is literally the dream the ACC had 25 years ago when they they brought them in, and it just never happened.
They haven't been able to be good in the same year for whatever reason.
And Miami actually, looking back on it, they've been good the past 2+ years. I mean, they've been building this whole time, and then Florida State having one of their worst seasons ever last year. You're a Florida State fan, and then for them to completely flip out like 70% of the roster and be a top 10 team again, 24 months later, it makes me look at my Tar Heels. And I'm like, what were y'all spending money on? Like over this whole offseason? Like they just went out and bought a bunch of average, and like Florida State got dudes, like they got dogs over there. And I don't know, the experiment in Chapel Hill is still kind of ongoing. Bill Belichick looked checked out last week during the UCF game. He was like, whatever.
This may not make you feel any better, but I just saw on Twitter a minute ago him and his fiance are on the latest cover of Us Weekly.
I just told Jonathan Stewart like yesterday or whatever when we were taping Believe in Panthers. We had Chris Hogan on with us, who hosts the Believe in Patriots pod, and I was just like, it's amazing to me that he was able to find a college girlfriend faster than he was a college quarterback. It's insane to me that this is going on, and she's just wandering the sidelines and I don't know, asking for snack money or something. I don't know what she's doing down there, but
for Bryce Baker's sake, for the East Forsyth guy, I hope if they're going to play him this year, I hope it's sooner rather than later. I would hate to see them burn his red shirt just for the last few games of the season. If they're going to play him, I hope it's soon.
That would make a lot of people here in this part of North Carolina and around very upset. And I hope Bryce does get a chance to play. I mean, Gio's injured. Max Johnson, they kind of know what that is. I don't know where Bryce is in the depth chart. I don't know if he's right behind him or not, but give him a shot. Can't be worse than what they're doing, especially against FBS opponents. UCF, I just saw them a couple weeks ago against A&T, and they hurt like 5 quarterbacks in the game. So it was – you're playing 2 Big 12 teams.
Yep.
They're not ready. But there are 3 ACC teams in the top 25. Of course, Miami's #2. They moved up a couple spots. Florida State, I think, is at 7.
8. They went back.
8.
They went back one spot. Yeah,
They went back one spot to 8, and then Georgia Tech entered. They're in there now at 16, if I'm not mistaken, and they're 4-0. So a wide open.
UVA would probably be ranked if not for one interception at the end of that NC State game.
They're 3-1. Yeah,
they would be 4-0. So
if they beat Florida State, they probably will jump back in the top 25. So lots there. I'm surprised that this is not cut off on you while we were doing this. I don't know what I'm hardline in, but for some reason my studio is only doing the Wi-Fi today, which usually it's the reverse. So I don't know what's happening, but we're going to end it here on a good note. Our NFL roundtable will air Saturday morning at 11 a.m. on WWB 1470 AM and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Myself, former NFL tight end Ben Troop, Ryan Smith, both of them are the host of Winning the Division and Inside the Vault, which are on the Keep Pounding Podcast Network. They'll be in the house. I think Rod Funderburk will be in the house with us, and we'll go through all the main storylines in the NFL for your upcoming Sunday. Again, Patriots and Panthers, 1:00 p.m. on Fox. I think that's it. So we're going to get out of here. Again, if you didn't hear it before, Marc gave you his top 3 high school games for this Friday. There's some good ones to choose from, actually, even in Forsyth County. So definitely go find that. And we will see you guys on